Let me show you some of the first things that you can do on OnePlus 15 right after the initial configuration. So the first thing that we can do is simply check notifications, and over here most of the time you will see some tips provided by the phone, which we can of course follow, such as the finish setting up your device, which most of the time includes some of the things that we have during the initial configuration that you probably didn't do or you skipped, so you have the second chance to actually set them up quite easily. We can also set up a screen lock or password, but I'm gonna show you in a second how to actually find them in settings. So if we go over here, then of course we can press start and you can go through these options one by one once again. But of course you can just quickly skip through all of these options if you don't want to actually use them, just like I usually do. So I just skip through everything, there we go, and most of the time that is all we have to do. Sometimes we can also see this option when going to settings, but in this case actually there is nothing like that. So besides that, what we can do is we can go to the app drawer, and over here of course, as you can see, we have a couple of different options. We also have app suggestions, so we're gonna tap on these three dots in the upper right corner and go to settings. Now in here we can disable suggested apps. There's also the global search, which you can enable or disable. We can also customize the drawer layout, but what I like to do is pretty much disable these app suggestions. I like my list of apps to be sorted alphabetically from the top to the bottom. Now, besides that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to settings, and of course over here in settings we have lots of different things and that we can do anyway. So the first thing is of course system and update. We want to go over here, we want to check if there is any new software update waiting for us. And in this case my version is actually up to date, but in your case of course there might be an update that you might need to download. So of course we can go through that over there and to make sure that our system is running on latest updates. Besides that, in system and update we also can find system navigation, so if you want to switch between buttons or gestures, then of course you can easily do that, and you can also personalize some of these settings as well. So be sure to check that out. I believe the navigation is one of the most important things that we have to do for the first time once we get our phone. Now, besides that, we're gonna go to users and accounts, and over here of course we can find our OnePlus account that we can easily create if you don't have one. We also have our Google accounts that we, for example, added so far, but if you have multiple different Google accounts that you want to use, or if you didn't sign in to your Google account yet, then of course you can just tap on add account, and then over here you can choose Google, and you can just sign in to all your accounts one by one over here, which might be of course quite crucial to you, so you have access to your emails on your phone, for example, of course. Now, once that is done, let's actually go back to settings. But once that is done, we can go to security and privacy, and in here we can find the device unlock, and in here we can find the screen lock. So of course we can create the password to the lock screen. You can choose one of these three types, and if you choose one of them, then you will see this important notice that of course you should not forget the password, because otherwise you will lose access to the phone. Besides that, we can tap over here, use a different password type in order to switch between different password types. As you can see, we can also switch to 4 digits if you want to do that. Once you set up your screen lock password, you also have access to face and fingerprint unlock, so you can set them up over here as well. And of course, the theft protection, something that is really important to do in order to have at least a slim chance to get your phone back when you lose it or when it gets stolen. So we have the theft protection menu with the identity check, we have the remote lock, we also have the find hub or find my device, the theft detection lock, offline device lock, and the SIM lock as well. Now, once that is done, another thing that we can do is we can update our apps. So I'm not sure if we have anything in here for app updates, but we can go to the Play Store over here. Let me actually skip through that. Let me actually use the password real quick. Alright, so once we have the Play Store opened, you should be able to tap on your profile in the upper right corner, and we can go to Manage Apps and Device. And over here, as you can see, we have different apps that we can easily update with this single button, for example, or you can go through this list one by one and update apps manually. So of course, we want to make sure that updates are running on their latest versions, so we can update them over here, and of course we can exit. These updates will be performed in the background, so we don't have to worry about them. Now, what we're gonna do next is of course go back to settings, but this time we're gonna choose display and brightness. And in here of course we can go through these settings and set them up as we wish, but one of the things that you might want to choose to adjust is of course the brightness of the screen. In my case, I often disable the automatic brightness. In your case, of course, you might want to use it. And of course we can adjust the screen brightness as well. In my case, I'm gonna slightly adjust it. There we go. We have the screen color mode as well, so you can adjust colors on your screen and so on and so forth. The adaptive tone. We have the display size, so you can make everything bigger or smaller on your screen if needed. We have the screen rotation, automatic screen timeout, so the time that is needed for the display to be put to sleep if the phone is inactive, if you don't use your phone. In my case, I actually wanted to increase it to 2 minutes. But this is just for the sake of video, so in your case you might want to choose 15 or 30 seconds. This is the optimal time. We also have the screen resolution, so if you want to increase the screen resolution, then over here you can easily do that. As you can see, by default we have automatic select, but you might want to force the standard resolution, or you might actually go for the higher resolution if you don't mind shorter battery life. And the refresh rate, of course, by default we have once again automatic select, which you can pretty much force 165 Hz to be used for as long and as much as possible. Alright, so once we go through these options, another thing that I want to take a look at is the home screen, lock screen, and style. Of course, over here we can make some changes to the home screen and lock screen. We can personalize our phone quite easily. But what I want to check is over here we have in the lock screen settings the lock screen magazine. Now, me personally, I really dislike this feature. This is the feature that changes the wallpaper on the lock screen every time you go to the lock screen, when it's enabled, of course. If you are a fan of that, you can easily turn it on. But on the other hand, if you don't like this feature, then of course we can make sure that it is disabled. This is just something that I think it's worth mentioning and doing right from the get-go in order to not be annoyed by changing wallpapers. Alright, so after that we're gonna go back again to the main menu of settings, and it is also worth visiting the battery because over here we should be able to find the charging settings, where we can, for example, enable smart rapid charging. So if you wish to have increased charging speed, if it's possible, of course, if you have a fast charger, then of course you might want to turn it on. But we also have the tutorial for wireless charging, so if you do use a wireless charger, then of course you might want to take a look at it in case you have troubles with charging your phone. And in the battery health, we also have a couple of different options for battery protection. So ideally you want to use one of them. It's up to you which one to choose, or if you use at all, but of course I can recommend you using at least one of them. Alright, so last thing, well actually second to last thing, because there's also the plus key, which we can easily personalize. This is something new compared to previous OnePlus models. Over here you can choose what you want to do with the plus key, that is of course on the left side. So over here you can of course set it up quite easily. Just remember to use this set button at the bottom of the screen once you set it up. And finally, I believe the last thing that is worth visiting is notifications and quick settings. And over here I actually want to go to these notifications over here. Let's switch to all so that the list is alphabetical, and there are some apps, let's say, that you might get annoyed at. So if that happens, I just want to show you where you can find these notification settings so you can easily switch that. Now, for example, the phone manager, if the phone manager sends you some notifications after, of course, opening it, because right now I didn't open phone manager yet, but in case you get some annoying notifications, then of course you can turn them off over here. The same goes with some other stuff in here, so be sure to check that out. But I believe that is actually everything that I wanted to show you. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If there is something that I didn't mention but you think is really worth mentioning and something that should be done at the beginning of the phone usage, then of course let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, leave a like and subscribe.